Hello everyone, welcome back to another part of our Python series. So today we are going to talk about numbers. So numbers in Python can be represented by two data types. First is integer and another one is floating point number. So let's first discuss about integers. So integer, as we studied in mathematics, it is a whole number, just like any number we can 22, 50. So all these can be called as integers. So let me make it as comment by pressing Ctrl K and C. So it won't be interpreted by Python or file. And also let me comment all the previous code as well. All these numbers can be called as integers, and the data type integer can be abbreviated to keyword int. Another data type which is used to represent numbers is the floating point number. So basically these are the decimal numbers, just like we can represent 22.5. So these in Python we called it as a floating point numbers. So just like other data types, you can similarly store these into a string. So if I type a integer is equal to 22 and b integer, I can type it as 30 and I can perform actions with them, just like I can add them. So if I type a integer plus plus, I can add them, and if I try to run it here, so let me open the terminal and run this file. So you can see I am getting the addition of both these numbers. So you can perform mathematical actions using integer. But if I put these number into quotes, then it will become a string. Then it is not an integer. So if I run it again, so it is giving me an error. So it says this is a type error because the data types both are different. And here you can see string, not an integer. You cannot add this because this is now taking it as a word. So when you write anything inside the code, Python will automatically take it as an string data type. Okay, so they cannot be added. And if I put this, then both of will become a string. They can be added, but not in the mathematical terms. Just they will be concatenated and they will become 20,230. So if I run the file again, so you can see we are getting this result as they are basically strings and we have concatenated them. Okay, so let's remove the codes. So these type errors are very common, especially when you are learning Python. Basically, this is the way of Python interpreter to telling you that you are trying to use a data type which will not work here. As in our case, we cannot concatenate a string to an integer. But in real world, there might be some cases where you want to declare the variable as an integer, but want to print it as like an string. I will show you a case. Suppose there is an string that my lucky number is. So I created a string here. So now if I have to print it like my lucky number is 22, so what comes into our mind? We will type print and then a string, then plus a integer. But you see what error we will get? We will again get type error because this is a string and this is a integer. And if I try to run this file, so you can see I'm getting as expected type error because these cannot be added. So if I make it as a string, then this operation will not be able to perform. So let me, if I run it again, so you can see because now it is a string and it is a number. So if I want to perform both these action, what I have to do? I have to change the data type at the time of operation, not in the directly when storing in the variable. So I will remove these quotes, and what will I do? When I put as a string, I will add a string method here. So basically using this string method, what I have done, I have converted this integer into a string type when I am concatenating them. So now I should not get any error. So let me try to run the file. So you can see here I am able to perform my addition, and here also I am getting the desired result of string concatenation. But Python generally in most cases is smart enough to detect what data type you are declaring. So suppose if I declared a floating point number here 22.5, and if I try to add this floating data type number with the integer, so Python is basically smart enough to know that floating number can be added to an integer and it will not give us any type error. So if I run this file again, so you can see it has successfully added the floating point number and an integer, even though they are belonging to different data types. But when you are concatenating this floating point number with the string, just like if I copy this line using Alt, Shift and down arrow, so it will duplicate that line. And also I can move this line using Alt and down key arrow, so it can come down. And if I want to add the string with this floating number, so same type error I should get. So you can see that it cannot be, as it is a float type, so it cannot be added. So it should be converted to string data type. And now if I run this, so you can see I am getting that result. So you must have noticed one thing: when we are adding an floating point number to an integer, just like here 22.5 with 22, we are getting 44.5, which is of floating point number data type. And if I want to get the result into an integer, so what can I do? Can convert this into integer using integer keyword. And if I try to run it again, you can see by this way I can get the result into integer. So let me show you some more operations so you will get a deep understanding about these data types. So let me first comment all this. So here you can see when I am adding these integers, I am getting the result as 52. But suppose I want to get this into a floating data type. Even both are integers, but I want to get this result into a floating data type. Means I want to get the answer as 52.0, which is also a true adding 22 and 30. But I want to get it as a floating data type, that is 52.0. So what can I do? Let me just duplicate and I can make them float data type using float keyword here. And now if I run my file, so I am getting answer as 52.0. 52 is coming from the earlier print and later it is giving me that result. And even if I make only one of them as a floating data type, not the full. So as you know, adding float with an integer always give result as data type as float only. So I will get the result again as 52.0. So if I run it, so you can see again I am getting as float data type. So I hope this is clear to you. And by this way, you can convert any data type into particular data type using these methods. Just here we use float method, here we use str string method and int representing integer method. So you can explicitly convert this data type into your desired data types. So I hope you get a clear understanding of both these data type. And if you still have any doubt, please let me know in the comments and share this video with everyone. And make sure you follow our Python series. To start from very beginner level to advanced level, we are going to cover everything related to Python.